Brian Wilson, Mary Catherine Ham, Brian Neiman, today's newsmakers, and you, the Morning Majority. 105.9 FM. AM 630. WMAL.
6:37 on the Morning Majority. Get to talk to Lanny Davis. Saw you up in New York last night hanging out on the Hannity show. How's it going, Lanny?
I'm pretty well. I got in late, but not too late to be able to give you guys a hard time. Happy New Year.
Thank goodness.
Happy New Year to you. Okay, listen, I want to get right at it here. Your president yesterday made a bunch of recess appointments. Now, that's something that other presidents have done, but the difference with this one is the Senate was not in recess. He appointed someone to a consumer bureau and then 3 members of the National Labor Relations Board. These are controversial appointments. Republicans had laid the groundwork to sort of block them, which they have the right to do. But your president decided, and this is his exact quote, "I don't want to take no for an answer." So he decided to go around the Constitution, go around the law, go around precedent, and appoint these people in a recess appointment, even though the Senate was not in recess. Do you support the president in this move?
Well, first of all, you've misstated a couple of essential facts. You did start out by saying, as Congress has a right to, they won't even bring up for a vote because of the 60-vote filibuster rule, allowing the head of the Consumer Financial Protection Board voted as part of a reform of the banking system and has been unfilled now for 2 years. So they wouldn't even allow a vote, but they're allowed to do that. You just said that. The Constitution permits recess appointments, and you know perfectly well Republican presidents, if you add them up, have about the same number, maybe more, of recess appointments.
But no president.
This one is different.
This one's different, Lane, because they were in pro forma session, which was a legislative maneuver that they put in place to prevent just this, and that the president's own Solicitor General, past Justice Departments, past presidents, past Obama's people even went to the Supreme Court and argued that the Senate had to be out of recess 3 days before an appointment could be made. They went against all of that.
Well, if they can be taken to court. The Supreme Court can rule whether or not they had a right to do this, whether there was a recess or not. My understanding is that the trick that the Senate Republicans did, if the Democrats had ever done that under George Bush, you would be on the phone right now.
No, they did it. They did it.
The Senate Democrats did do this on several occasions. And Harry Reid was A-OK with it, and he said yesterday, well, I was okay with it when I did it, but this is for a different reason, so I'm not okay with it now. I mean, it's so disingenuous. Well,
that does sound disingenuous. I'll agree with you. And if it is, in fact, illegal, and you're right, then the Supreme Court will find that to be the case. Don't you agree that both parties should stop this nonsense?
But here's the thing, is that this is the ratcheting up. I would sort of agree with you. Okay, if we have a truce and we say no more recess appointments, they all have to come before Senate and let's all chill out, fine. But this is actually a ratcheting up because there is no recess right now. So the president is sort of unilaterally deciding that the Senate is in recess, which he's not allowed to do.
Well, if that's the case, then the Supreme Court should rule that this is an illegal appointment. But why won't the Republicans allow an up or down vote? If they have the votes, fine. If they don't, fine. Why do they block a vote?
I can tell you that they don't like this Consumer Protection Bureau that has been set up under Dodd-Frank, another law which they have real serious concerns with. But even that law says that the powers of this particular bureau cannot be implemented until the director has been confirmed by the Senate. And that hasn't occurred.
Well, it now has occurred in the appointment of the individual, and let's see if the Supreme Court, that's why we have a court system, that's why we're under a rule. Well, let's see what the Supreme Court says.
Well, and here's what you get in the meantime, is that Republicans, in response to this, will say, ha, you think you're bringing up any more appointments? Not going to happen, buddy. So you've actually made the situation worse before the Supreme Court rules on it, right?
Well, how can it be any worse? You guys have not answered my question, and I've been consistent, whether it was Bill Clinton with judicial appointments where he couldn't get an up or down vote, or was George Bush. I was very critical of Democrats for not allowing up or down votes on his. This is a tradition now that we no longer have majority rule. If you can't get 60 votes, you can't appoint anyone. So this is something that I think both parties ought to stop.
Well, but those are the rules. I mean, look, the Constitution says that the Congress gets to make its own rules, and those are the rules that are in place and have not been changed.
Yeah, and Republicans were very critical of Democrats for not allowing a majority vote.
But they didn't circumvent. They didn't circumvent the rules of the House and Senate. They didn't violate the principles.
They debated it, and then they got clobbered for it.
That's right.
Barack Obama just says, new rules.
I mean, if the Senate truly goes out of recess, and you want to make a recess appointment, it's your right to do so. And past presidents, Democrat and Republican, have done so. The difference here is they weren't in recess.
Well, they weren't in recess through this typical parliamentary, if you
called
say
pro
that
forma
Harry
session,
Reid,
right?
If Harry Reid has done the same thing, then I'm saying that both parties misuse these rules requiring 60 votes to get anything done, including an up or down vote. And there is an effort, bipartisan effort, to change this 60-vote majority rule. We are a country, a democracy, that should be run by a majority rather than 60 votes.
Yeah, but you don't get to, if you're president of the United States, Lanny, you don't unilaterally get to say, I personally disagree with that. I disagree with the policies of the legislative branch, and therefore I unilaterally am going to circumvent the Constitution and appoint these people, even though there is no recess.
I think we're doing a little circular conversation, and let's take it to the Supreme Court. And what did you guys have for breakfast this morning?
Wheaties.
Only Coca-Cola.
A banana.
All right. So Mitt Romney wins Iowa by 8 votes. Rick Santorum yesterday said game on. He's rising now in the polls. Newt Gingrich is still out there. Perry reassessing, but still going to stay in it. Bachman's out. Is this Romney's to lose at this point in your mind?
Yeah, I think he probably is a nominee. Democrats probably fear him, if fear is an applicable word, because I think he'll definitely lose to Obama for a variety of reasons. But I think he definitely has the capacity to appeal to the center. He is more moderate than most of the field, even though he can't admit that while he's running in a conservative electorate for the Republican nomination. My problem with Romney is he's just not authentic. He, for example, won't disclose his tax returns. Now, we all know sooner or later that's going to happen, but he just doesn't recognize you do it now rather than wait till you're pounded away until you do it.
Mm-hmm.
This notion that he ran all these ads against Newt Gingrich, and that's fine. That's what unfortunately happens in politics with negative advertising. It obviously works. But why not step up to the line and take responsibility for the ads? Instead, he plays this cute little game with this sort of half smile. Oh, well, they're not associated with my campaign. I have nothing to do with it.
And in the new year, I look forward to watching Obama play the same game. Thanks, Thanks, Lanny.
Well, of course, there's hypocrisy on both sides on this.
I know.
And these super PACs are really ridiculous, but at least take responsibility.
All right. Thanks, Lanny. We appreciate it. Enjoy fighting with you as always.